All right, ladies and gentlemen, short video today. We just want to continue our discussion of the quadratic formula. We're going to be using it to solve equations today. So with the quadratic formula, what we're looking at, if you don't remember, is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, where do the a, b, and c come from? Well, they come from a quadratic equation. Now, quadratic just means highest power is 2. So it just comes from a polynomial equation that looks like this. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are just numbers. So the idea today is that we're going to actually be getting values. So the first problem we're going to look at, and your problems will look very similar, is 6p squared minus 5p minus 6. Okay, 6p squared minus 5p minus 6. And that's, of course, equal to 0. All right, so what do we have here? Well, you could try and factor this, and some of you will go ahead and try and factor this using the AC method, if you remember that was from before we left on break. And that's fine. You could try that, see if it works. It may work, it may not work, sometimes they do. But what's nice about the quadratic formula is the quadratic formula always works. Okay, it will always get you an answer. So we're going to go ahead and use that because we know it's always going to give us an answer. Okay, so negative b is negative 5, so we'll get 5 plus or minus the square root of negative 5 squared minus 4 times 6 times negative 6 all over 2 times 6. Now, again, if you remember, the very first thing that we do is we plug what's under the radical into our calculator. Okay, all right. And we get 169. So we get x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 169 over 12. Now, turns out, and maybe you remember this from our perfect square video, but the square root of 169 is actually a perfect square. It's 13, meaning we're going to get x equals 5 plus or minus 13 over 12. Now, there is no radical here. Don't leave this answer in simplest radical form. You've gotten something that you could do the math on. It was a perfect square. So since you can do the math on it, we want to see you do the math, and delta math is going to require you to do that math. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is you're going to take x equals 5 plus or minus 13 over 12, and you're going to have to plug in. Okay, well, what are you going to have to plug in? Right, you're going to have to plug in 5 plus 13 over 12, and then separately you're going to do 5 minus 13 over 12. Okay, and so we're going to solve each one of these separately here. So for this we'll get 18 over 12. Okay, now 18 divided by 12 happens to just be 1.5, so you don't have to worry about putting that in fraction form. 1.5 is fine. 5 minus 13 is negative 8. So when you get x equals negative 8 over 12, we're going to plug that into our calculator. And that we're going to leave probably as negative 8 over 12, okay? Because I don't want to have to try and plug negative 0.66666. We know that 6 is going to repeat forever into delta math. Okay, so now let's return to delta math and see how are we possibly going to plug this in. So we're trying to put in two answers here. So we're trying to solve for all the real answers. So let's drop this. So bear with me for just a second. Okay. So the first answer that we're trying to put in is 1.5. And then we're going to put a comma. And after the 1.5, we're trying to put in another answer, and that other answer is, negative 8 over 12. So let's go back to our delta math. Now for this, we're going to start with a negative 8, and by putting the division sign, that's going to get us the 12. Okay, so do you see this answer, what this told us here? This said, the only time you can use the comma in your answer is for coordinate points or interval notation. Delta Math is telling you exactly what you can't do. So if you're trying to make multiple answers, click the plus button to add solutions. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just put the 1.5 in. Now I'm going to hit the plus button and it's going to give me a choice for another answer. And that's where I'm going to put the negative 8 over 12. I'm going to try and submit my answer. It says I am wrong. Well, why am I wrong? You'll notice here that I got the right answer here. They're saying that I did not simplify my fractions. Okay, so they wanted my 1.5 to be a 3 over 2. Okay. They wanted my negative 8 over 12 to be a negative 2 over 3. Okay, so you're going to have to simplify. It even goes ahead and tells me my answer is not simplified. Now, you're going to get a second try on this. This is me just showing you how to do this, right? And I'm trying to show you where the different issues could come into play. So make sure that you're being careful with that, okay? Make sure that you're identifying, well, what answers are working, what answers are not working, okay? Just asking you to do 5 this, beginning of the week, this first assignment. Again, use the quadratic formula. It will greatly help you out, okay? It shows you how to split them here and shows you how to get your 2 different answers. Make sure you reduce, okay? You gotta reduce. Simplest form. One last thing I just want to show you is that if you forgot, your calculator will always reduce a fraction for you. So if we use alpha y equals and we put in our negative 8 over 12, okay, and then we do math frac, it will simplify it for us to the negative 2 over 3. So that's really handy for us there. Okay, so that's it. Just, one example, a quick example. Keep the video short. Want to just show you what we're doing here. If you have questions, reach out to any one of us. We're happy to